Hey guys, it's me. It's Queen Haru, and I'm coming to you today with another exciting edition of Ask An Aquarius. So if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and smack the bell. All right, so today I got a message from a woman, and she asked me to speak on life after Abrahamic religions. For you that might not be familiar, the Abrahamic religions are Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Those are the three Abrahamic traditions. They're called Abrahamic because Abraham is said to be the father, basically, of all these traditions. All of their traditions stem from one root, and then they branch off in three different directions. That's why these groups are often fighting each other for territory and things like that, because they all, in a way, have a claim to it. It's kind of like three kids all claiming their parents' inheritance. So all three of them have a claim, and they constantly fight over who gets what, who has what, who does the Holy Land belong to, blah, blah, blah. So some people have been involved in these religions, and they write to me and say they want to leave, or they have left already, but they feel like, what do I do now? You know, I've left the church, I've left the mosque, I've left the synagogue, I've left behind my religious family, and for various reasons. Some people cite political reasons. Some people talk about the molestation that goes on. Some people talk about, feeling sexist. You know, some of the women feel that the organization's certain aspects are sexist. So we get different energies from different people, and they're like, okay, we've moved on. Now what? Like, what do I do now? And my thing is that it's kind of like when you're with a narcissistic abuser. I was talking about this in the other video. You have to deprogram. Because I don't know about Judaism and Islam as much as I know about Christianity. I was raised Catholic, and I was a good Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I had all of my sacraments, except for the three that I wasn't supposed to get yet, put it like that. Matrimony, last rites, and the priesthood are the three I didn't have. The priesthood is only for people men who are going to be a priest. Matrimony is for when you get married, and the last rite is for when you're dying. So I haven't had those three, but I had all the other sacraments. And I walked away from the Catholic Church. So I know all about it. I've read the Bible backwards and forwards. Every year we had to read sections of the Bible. So I know for 9 years of my life, I was reading the Bible backwards and forwards. There's nothing you can tell me about the Bible. So the question becomes, what happens now? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about my journey, and maybe some of you might do something similar. At 13 years old, I decided, after talking to a nun, Sister Teresa. I did a video on that Sister Teresa story for anybody that's interested in the story. I already did a video on it. Anyway, so after talking to Sister Teresa, I realized that I needed to find my own spiritual system, that Catholicism wasn't it. I spent 13 years of my life doing it, and I realized it wasn't because I wanted to do it, but because it was imposed on me by my family members who had been involved. So, because that's what everybody does. Their mom and dad raises them in their tradition, their spiritual tradition. But for some of us, that tradition doesn't work. So the question then becomes, now what? So I'm 13 years old. I know nothing about nothing. I think I know everything, but I don't. And so it was like, what do I do? So I'm a smart person. So the only thing I could think to do was read. And that's what I recommend. I recommend reading. I read different books. Anything I came across that interests me, like for instance, Buddhism was very interesting to me from the very beginning. I went to classes. I sat in on, like, for instance, I went to the mosque and sat in. I went to a Yoruba ceremony and sat in. So I really just went to different things and read different things about different spiritual systems. Okay. And because I really wanted to initiate into a system, but you don't even have to do that. You can just use spiritual practices yourself at home. The important part is having a relationship with your creator. It's not which, group you belong to. That's just an extra part that humans add on to it. But The important part is having a relationship with your creator. So I chose to just, peruse. And it took me from 13 till I was 21, 22 to find my yacht. And I didn't initiate until I was like 27. I took my time. I learned about it. I wasn't certain. I wanted to see. I was still messing up. I wasn't ready to stop messing up. Let's keep it real. Because I knew that if I was going to initiate, I had to stop acting a fool. And I wasn't quite ready to stop acting a fool yet. So that was another part of it. So I say for anybody else who's out there going through something similar, just start off by learning. Learn about different systems, because most people, the spiritual system, most of the people that I know that come out of, I'm going to speak specifically to Christianity. People that I know who come out of Christianity tell me that they don't know anything about spirituality. They don't know anything about anything. All they know is Christianity, and very little about that, because you're not really encouraged to, really learn more about it. You're encouraged to read the Bible, to read some hymns, listen to your pastor, do some Bible study, but you're not encouraged. As a matter of fact, in some of them, you're forbidden to learn about other spiritual systems, other ways, chakras, using herbs, using oils as medicine, shamanism. You're not privy to any of this information, and most of them. I know that some of them do prophecies, which is divination, but not even all of them will do that. So you don't know a lot about a lot of different things when you come out of these Abrahamic traditions. So the first thing I would say is research. Read about different things. Read about the Rastafarians. Read about different spiritual systems and see if any of them work for you. Because this is like your opportunity to pick now. You have an opportunity to pick where you go. So it's really fun. It's really a good thing. Now you can decide how you worship. Okay, so that's what I did. I took all that time, all those years from 13 to 21 to even find the spiritual system that was for me. And then from 22 to 27, 28, something like that, maybe 29, something like that. I was learning about the system, reading about it, hearing about what Mayat was and looking at different things and making decisions about it, and still screwing up and not quite ready to stop. And then when I was ready to stop, I was like, that's it. I had learned enough. I had read enough. I knew enough. Mayat is it. This is what I want to do. It is me. It's me. Mayat speaks to me. It's me, So as soon as I was like, okay, that's it. No more screwing around. No more messing up. I dragged my altar into my bedroom, and that was it. I've been with Mayat ever since. I initiated in that day and kept it going. So that's what I suggest. I suggest a lot of reading first, because at the beginning, you don't know anything about all this stuff. So you need to see what resonates with you. Certain things may and may not resonate with you. You may decide to be Buddhist. You may decide to come into Mayat. You may decide to go into another spiritual system. You may decide not to do a spiritual system at all. Because remember, what I said is most important is your relationship with the creator. So you might have the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Bible, other holy books around, because it's lots of holy books. You might have them around and you may read from them different, wisdom and different things from them. You may go to a Dharma talk. You may decide that you just want to pray and meditate every day by yourself. And that's fine, because the bottom line is to have a strong relationship with your creator. All of the rest of that is secondary. All of the rest of that is secondary to you. Some people like having a spiritual family, people that they can talk to. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to have people around you that believe the way that you do, to be able to talk to them. That's great, but it's not necessary. If you are by yourself praying and meditating, that is enough. Reading spiritual materials every day, uplifting yourself, that's enough. That's more than enough. But if you really want to have a spiritual family, then I would say look at the different ones and decide if there is one you want to initiate into. Now, another reason why you want to start with research and learning is because of the fact that there's lots of stuff out there for you to learn. There's lots of stuff out there that's been hidden from you, quite frankly, that you can learn about. So chakras, for example, working with crystals, Anybody and anybody can work with those. So it's lots of stuff that you probably haven't heard about. So if I were you, I would start with reading about things that interest you. What spiritual energies interest you? Are you interested in herbs? Are you interested in oils? Are you interested in Wicca? Are you interested in Mayat? Are you interested in what is the other one? Buddhism. Buddhism has a lot of writings, a lot of things written by different famous Buddhists. A lot of good stuff. Some of it's online. You can read it for free. Some of it you might want to buy the books. Deepak Chopra is a good place to start, because he talks a lot about energy. Energy is a great place to start. He has a lot of work too. Energy work, energy healings, those things don't have anything. They don't have a specific, system to be in. Anybody can use them. Like I said, with crystals, energy work is for anybody. Anybody can use energy work. Anybody can get Reiki, things like that. So jot down some of the things I'm talking about, and the ones that interest you, learn more about them. That's what I did. I was going to say that's what I would do. That's what I did. And I just kept learning about them, and I kept on reading about them. And a lot of things just didn't fit for me. Anything that's sexist didn't fit for me. If it felt sexist, it didn't fit for me. Anything that was homophobic did not fit for me. Anything that's hateful does not fit, because I don't want to come into a system where I'm being taught and encouraged to hate a different group of people. Like, to me, that is not what religion is. Spirituality and religion are supposed to be about love. Okay? And the difference between the two is that religion is a system. They say religion is a system, a way of, practicing something. Like Catholicism is a system. It's a religion. And then you have the spiritual systems, which is very similar energy, except for it's a little bit more different because things aren't set in stone. There's more creativity to it. Like Wicca. Wicca I would call a spiritual system because there's more creativity to it. Like when you go to a Catholic ceremony, it's the same way every time. In a Wicca ceremony, it switches up some. Like the structure might be the same, but what happens inside switches up. So that's the difference between the two. But either way, they're supposed to be about love. They're supposed to be about helping people, accepting people, offering people, your assistance. They're not supposed to be about hating people or excluding them. So whenever I came across a system that was hateful, I immediately checked it off. If they hate a whole group of people, I check them off. And some of the ones I liked a lot had that problem, and I checked them off. One of the ones I liked the most had a real problem with homophobic problem. And I was like, can't roll with y'all. Checked it off the list. And I just kept looking for something that affirmed all of me and was not hateful. And that's how I came to Mayat, because it affirmed all of me. Wicca was good with that too. Wicca was very affirming. It did not recommend hate at all. I liked Wicca a lot. But Mayat won because my ancestors practiced Mayat. Mayat is from ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet. So it won because of that too. There was a strong blood tie there. I was like, oh, okay. So I had to learn about it. And the more I learned, the more I loved it. So Wicca was good though. Buddhism was really good. It's one I read a lot about Buddhism until this day. So it's other energies and other ones that may resonate more with you. So I would say just look at them, learn about them, learn what they're about, learn what their creed is, And I started with reading about them, learning about, their creeds and what they believe in, things like that. And then I went to go visit a ceremony in some cases. In some cases, I had checked them off before I got that far. But in some cases, like in the case of Yoruba, I was like, okay, I like this. Let me go check out a ceremony. I went to the ceremony. It didn't click. It didn't click for me. It was okay, but I found this particular place to be cliquish. And that may not be true about any other place. That might have been the only one. But the one I went to was kind of cliquish. I walked in, nobody even greeted me, Like I came in, like nobody was greeting me. Like usually when you go to a spiritual ceremony, they're greeting you. They're trying to draw you in, They didn't even greet me. And I walked in, I was there, I danced, I talked to the drummer, but nobody was very welcoming, So I just didn't go back. So those are the kind of things that you experience and you see if something is for you. And even though I like that tradition, and I still even I have incorporated some parts of that tradition into my practice, because I call upon, Oshun. I call upon, Yemanya. I've called upon Shango. And I've worked with those energies from that system, but I didn't initiate into the system with the people in the system. Because when, like I said, I went, I didn't feel welcomed. So I just didn't do it. So I left and said, nah, this ain't for me, checked it off, and kept on going down my list. Now, by the time I had went to go visit, I, of course, had read a lot about it. I knew a lot about it by the time I went to go visit. And I could have went to other ones. I could have just said, okay, maybe this isn't the right, group for me, and went to other groups. It might have been more welcoming groups. But I was very turned off by that and was like, I don't want to do this. It was very cliquish, and I was just like, this isn't for me. So I just walked off and ended up finding my aunt, which was perfect for me. I found that years later. So I would recommend that for anybody who's coming out of religions. That is the path I would take. I would just learn. And it's what you're drawn to. Like, what energies are you drawn to? What things are you drawn to? What books are you drawn to? What videos are you drawn to? And just give yourself time. Lots of time. I didn't rush it. I didn't say I'm going to figure this out in a year. I gave myself as much time as I needed to figure it out. You might not figure out immediately which one it is. You might not have time. Oh, and some places offer world religion classes. Some colleges offer those, and some other places offer those. Those are very beneficial because they'll give you an overview of the world religions. So then you can, from them, take the materials and dig deeper into those spiritual systems and figure out if one is right for you. And in the meantime, just work on your relationship with your Creator. Work on prayer. Work on meditation. When you do prayer, prayer does not have to be a formal prayer. Prayer should be from your heart. You should be you talking from your heart, speaking from your heart. Meditation, you can use guided ones. I would recommend guided ones in the beginning. Whatever it is you want to use, just Google meditation. 1,000 of them come up. Put it into YouTube. 1,000,000 of them come up. Reiki, really good stuff. Use those kind of things. And like I said, those are right here on YouTube. If you type in Reiki, 1,000,000 Reiki videos come up. So give yourself a chance to learn. Take your time too, because there's a lot to see. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of stuff that you probably don't even know exists. A lot of energies, a lot of fun things, a lot of ceremonies, a lot of books. It was so many books. I read so many books. It was amazing. So give yourself a chance. Give yourself time and give yourself a chance. You don't have to rush. What you need to do, like I said before, is really focus most of your attention on building your relationship with your Creator, talking to God from your heart. I don't care if you call it God, Goddess, the universe. It's all the same thing. It's all the same energy. It's the energy, some people call it the all, just the same thing. It's the energy that created the heavens and the stars and the people and everything. It is the all. So that is the most important part, is strengthening that connection, praying from your heart, asking for guidance, being thankful for what you already have, telling God what you need. Those are the things that you want to do. Do meditations. And every day read something from somewhere. Read something from Taoism today. Read something from Buddhism tomorrow. Just keep on looking at different stuff and open your mind to what's out there. And you can make a decision later about if you want to initiate or not. Some people never initiate. They just learn different spiritual practices and they do it for themselves. You can pick and choose. You can take different spiritual practices like a smorgasbord, like a buffet, You can take, I like this, I like this, I like this. You can take different things from them that work for you. There's nothing wrong with that. They call it eclectic. Being eclectic. So you can do that if you want to. So a lot of people do that, as a matter of fact. I've met a lot of people and I'm like, well, what tradition are you in? And they're like, I'm not in the tradition. I'm just spiritual. And when they start to talk, I'm like, this person is eclectic. They do different things from different places. Okay. So open yourself out, allow yourself to learn. Some things you probably were taught were evil or not. Like I knew a girl who told me that she thought astrology was evil. Astrology is science. It's not evil. you know? And her pastor told her that this is evil, that's evil. She had a nice little list of things that are evil, and none of them are evil. You know, that's just what they tell people. Really, because in my opinion, I think that it's just I think they don't want people to know that kind of thing. I don't think they want them to be reading and searching and looking at other kind of things. And I don't even know if it's particularly, if it's intentional. I think that's just the way it was set up from the beginning. Because remember, all of this stuff is tradition. What your pastor tells you today is from thousands of years ago, from tradition, from the Bible, from theological schools. And all of this stuff is traditions that's been passed down for years and years and years and years and years. And so some of the times they say stuff that they probably got from theology school. They probably got it from theology school and may not even know why half of the time, you know? But she was telling me, you know, I thought astrology was evil. And I'm like, no, why would you think that? You know, and she went on to tell me about sermons that she's listened to about how astrology is evil, how tarot is evil, how this is evil, how that's evil. And I'm like, babe, none of this stuff is evil. All of this stuff is just ways of enlightenment, you know? And yeah, it's very true that in the very beginning, there was a big rift between pagans and the new Christian church. And the new Christian church went about their business to demonize the pagans because they wanted souls. They wanted people to come into the Christian church. So they did anything they could to tarnish the reputation of the pagans. And so a lot of the pagan practices like divination, astrology, things like that, they demonized them. But they're not really evil. That's just what they said. It's just a propaganda. It's like a smear campaign, you know? And when you're trying to smear something, you smear everything. And that smearing has gone down for thousands of years. And then it doesn't help that some of these practices that are done do have supernatural, psychic kind of energy to it. So they don't even understand the energy, so that makes it even worse, you know? But these things are not evil. They're just the victims of a very vicious smear campaign that started thousands of years ago and has still continued to go on and on and on. And as you start to read, as you start to learn, as you start to read about the different councils that the Pope set up, as you look at the history of Christianity, the history of paganism, you're going to see it. It's all there. And that's why people are not encouraged to read this kind of stuff, because they don't want you to know that. So you're not encouraged to read this kind of stuff. But as you start to read it, you be like, I thought, you know, and you start to see that you've been told a lot of lies. You've been told a lot of lies. That's why I said it's a brainwashing. So the first thing I did was learn what was really good, like what is really going on here. And I went into it with an open mind. I didn't go into it with any fear. The only fear I had was going to hell. That fear was beat into me, you know? So when I first came away from the Christian church, I was afraid to say I'm not a Christian. People would ask me, are you a Christian? And I would say, yeah, knowing that I wasn't, hadn't been to church in forever. I was afraid. They had scared me so bad that I was afraid to say I'm not a Christian. I was afraid to not be a Christian. I was afraid. I was still under that blanket. Like, you know, well, I've been baptized and I've been this, I've been that. And I was still under that blanket. And it wasn't until I started to really learn and research that I was like, they lied to me. And that's when the whole thing came out. And I realized it was like blinders came from over my eyes. It was like, oh my God. So I would suggest that, because until you read and learn these things for yourself, there's a lot of fuzziness, there's a lot of confusion, and it's hard to tell what's what. Okay? So that's what I would do if I was that's what I would do, and that's what I did do in that position. Okay? See you guys later.